Hello guys, welcome back to NBA Knowledge. Today we'll be covering 10 NBA bench players that are better than their starters. Let's get into the video. Number 10, Marcus Smart. The hype was huge coming out of college, and since then he's been able to carve out a niche role for himself on the Celtics. It may not be what everybody expected for such high draft pick, but the return is decent all the same. Smart is a very good player when healthy, and he should be one of the go-to guys off the bench in Boston for the long term. Of course, with Kyrie Irving on the team now, Smart doesn't need to carry the offense or even run the point on a consistent basis. He'll get his minutes off the bench, but there's no need to rush him into a full-time role with the current roster configuration. He's just about to enter his prime, so you can expect his production to get even better. Number 9, Manu Ginobili. Ginobili is almost as synonymous with the Spurs' success as the likes of Tim Duncan, so it's exaggeration to say that he's been one of the most important players in team history. He's a lights-out shooter and has been reliable off the pine for his entire career. San Antonio depends on players like him as a general philosophy, and without him, they may not even have the amount of titles they do. Now, unfortunately, Ginobili is on the decline and is really a shell of the player he once was. Who could blame him? He's hit the 40-year-old mark, and anybody with that length of an NBA career is going to suffer in their later years. It's no slight to Ginobili, though, who has been one of the best in the league for a long time. Number 8, TJ McConnell. An underdog story if there ever was one. McConnell had to scrap and claw his way into the league and has molded himself into a valuable backup on a Sixers team with multiple stars. He runs the point when Ben Simmons is on the bench and ends up contributing in a variety of ways, all of which are an asset to this young Sixers team. McConnell knows his bounds as a player, but he's also willing to take risks, which is a rare combination for a player in his role. He'll probably end up getting the chance to start somewhere if he wants to, and should continue to play well on another roster. Number 7, Richard Jefferson. Finding new life on the LeBron-led Cleveland teams in recent years, Jefferson continues to defy the odds and remain in the league even as he hovers around the age of 40. A former standout with the Nets, he's now toiling on the Nuggets bench and is probably going to retire very soon. The scoring isn't there anymore, and it's clear he's just treading water at this point. Expect Jefferson to bow out pretty soon. He's on a nowhere team, is over the hill, and there's just very little reason to stick around anymore. He hasn't logged consistent minutes in a while, and without hopes to play for another title, he has little more than he'd have to achieve. Number 6, Andre Iguodala. For years, Iguodala has been the epitome of an upper-tier NBA player. He plays hard with a great skill set, and is the kind of player that's an asset to winning teams. If he wasn't on the Warriors, he'd be a prime starter, and was for a while on the Sixers, and rack up more impressive stat lines. For Iguodala, however, that's not as important as playing a significant role in a contender any way he can. He's exactly the type who is going to do whatever it takes to win, and he'll be on the Warriors for the foreseeable future because of that. Iguodala is a no-frills type of player, which is incredibly rare in this day and age. He'd fit in well on any roster in the league. Number 5, Derrick Rose. It's been a fall from grace for Rose, who was once one of the most exciting and dominating young players in the entire league. Injuries eventually robbed him of his dynamic ability on the court, however, and now he's a shell of his former self. He's barely hanging on in Minnesota on a team with a plethora of young talent. It's unfortunate for Rose, who is printed to be one of the best and is now the level of journeyman. With little chance of a career resurgence, it's one of the more upsetting NBA stories in recent memory. Number 4, Dwayne Wade. Even when he's old and past his prime, Wade is still better than a good portion of the starters in the league. He simply has that it factor that so many others lack, and he was able to lead the Heat to another playoff berth, even if they were eliminated in the first round. Of course, age will slow down anybody, but Wade still has enough prime game to be considered better than a lot of players. Having a player of his caliber come off the bench is an asset to any team. It would just be better for him if the Heat were more competitive. Wade is simply one of the best of his generation, and you can still see glimpses of excellence even in the twilight of his career. Number 3, Jamar Nelson. One of the most underrated players in the league during his prime, Nelson had the misfortune of mainly playing on mediocre teams throughout his career. Barring the Magic team that made a finals appearance, he was an extremely efficient point guard in Orlando and made his mark consistently over an extended period of time. Now he's assumed a journeyman role and has been a handful of rosters in the past 5 years. It's to be expected, and Nelson spends his time coming off the pine. He probably has a few more years left in him if he wants it, but it won't be in a significant role, and he'll likely have to change scenery several more times as well. Number 2, Lou Williams. One of the best six men in history. Williams has made a career of torching the opposition off the bench. He's a dynamic scorer when he wants to be, and he consistently averages more points than most starters. It's a rare thing to observe in the NBA, a player who can score at will over such a long period of time without ever really being a starter. It's probably fair to say that he wants off the Clippers roster right now, but there should be plenty of bidders for a bench player of Williams' caliber. When it's all said and done, he could be considered one of the absolute best six men ever to play, and set a standard for future players coming off the bench, if they want to work their way up to the starting lineup, that is. Number 1, Vince Carter. Carter's longevity has been remarkable, and he's an all-time great without a shadow of a doubt. Incredibly, at the age of 41, he says he wants to keep playing for another year. It's truly been a testament to his ability to stay in shape and play well beyond what anybody would have expected. Even for a first ballot Hall of Fame player, Carter is simply in top echelon on the league's rates and has been for some time. It's a shame that he'll probably never get the opportunity to win a title, but beyond that, his career has been nothing but a success. The opportunity to mentor young players is clearly a priority for him, though, and is likely a driving factor in him returning to the league after a year. It only adds to his legendary status and will ensure that he has a home in the NBA no matter what the circumstance is in the future. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. I'll catch you next time. So long.